access security and configuration. Objective: understand Wlan authentication and encryption technologies. Configure Huawei Wlan security profile. Content number 1, Wlan authentication technologies. Okay, on the day number 1, I did explain about the evolution of Wlan. Okay, on the very beginning, they're actually using the WEP. So this one doing the basic encryption only. No straight user authentication. They're using a static key and they are easy to be decrypted. The key bytes are not extendable. You can combine WEP with MAC address filtering or SSID spoofing for better security. But this one actually is still not good enough in the WEP, this kind of the authentication. Then the next one, when you go to the 2001, then they started the 802.1x. So this one, they support the dynamic key, enhance the encryption doing the user authentication, and they can support the EAP right now, and also the radius. Then evolution tree to the WPA and WPA2. Standardization, and they both using the TKIP or the CCMP to do the encryption, and they have a strict user authentication. Security authentication, the increasing wireless user bandwidth provided by 802.11 base, the WLAN is bridging more WLAN user, and the user today have increasingly highest requirement on WLAN security. So I believe right now a lot of the company or the office building right now is rely on the wireless is more than the wire. When more user is using the wireless, then another thing we need to consider is the security. Okay, we want to protect our information. The confidential data security and the user privacy are the two top concerns from WLAN user. The first one is Open System Authentication, OSA. So it's a default as well as the simplest authentication mode. User do not need to do any authentication in this mode. So like right now the SDA, you want to associate with the AP. So we just click on the SSID on our laptop. So you send the authentication directly and associate with the AP direct, okay, without any authentication. Then the next one, we can using the SSID matching. So what does this mean? Some of the AP or maybe the controller, they can support the SSID hidden. So we can hide our SSID. Only the user put the right SSID, then they can able to associate with the AP. If the PC never put in the right SSID, they will not able to connect through the AP. But right now, because we can using many different types of software, so even the AP trying to hide the SSID, but we still possible to scan it. Okay, so this is not so secure at all, even you try to hide it. Then the next one, the MAC address authentication. So the MAC authentication, we can configure on our controller here. So we're going to create the blacklist or the whitelist. Like example, I create the blacklist. So for those MAC address inside the blacklist, the user try to associate with our SSID. Even they give the correct password, the correct username, the AC will still not allow them to associate. Okay, because they're already under the blacklist. Okay, they can base on the MAC address. Share key authentication. Share key authentication require that the AP and the SDA using the same key. Okay, in another word, we call as a static WEP key. So the AP here, we're going to set one static password, same to the SDA. So both sides, they must match the password, or else they will disconnect the network. They can't able to associate. So the SDA, they send the authentication request to the AP. Okay, when I already create, I want to connect to the SSID. So now the AP is going to randomly generate the challenge packet to the SDA. Okay, so now the user have to put in the password, okay, and send back the encryption challenge packet to the AP. So the AP have to reply with the result, whether it's success or fail. So this is the shaky authentication. Then the next one, 802.1x authentication. So this one is the authentication standard for port-based network access control, defined by the IEEE. Okay, it was first approved in 2001 and was revised later to suit the WLAN access technology. Okay, the previous one, they actually not yet compatible with the wireless, but yes, right now they already support it. The final version came out in the years of 2004. Okay, there's a three component for IEEE, the 802.1x authentication. They require the subscription, authenticator, and the authentication server. So they have three parties right here for the 802.1x. So the authenticator, we're going to collect all the information from the subscription. Okay, like example, what is your certificate and what is your MAC address. So those information will first deliver to the authenticator. Once the authenticator collect all this information, it will redirect to the server. So the server will make the decision, okay, how to perform the authentication. They're going to check because all the user, the access list, the certificate, all stored inside the server. Then the next one, EAP. 802.1x system is a common architecture rather than an authentication mechanism. So it's used the EAP, okay, Extensible Authentication Protocol. This is the encapsulation format. EAP over the LAN. So they have the LAN header right in front. After the header, you show the code, the ID, LAN, and followed by our data. The EAP type, there are four different. The first one, MD5. So when we're using the EAP MD5, so the authentication is only require username and password. That's all. When we select the TLS, TLS stands for the Transport Layer Security. So the client will require the certificate. Authentication server also. So the certificate is on both sides. For the TTRS, the Data Transport Layer Security. So the authentication will be on the server. And the last one, PAP. The authentication server requires the certificate, and the client have to give the username and the password. So this is a PAP. Okay, now we enter to the pre-share key authentication. So it requires the STA and the AP to be configured with the same pre-share key. And STA and AP authenticate each other through the key negotiation. So both sides. During the key negotiation, the STA and the AP use their pre-share key to decrypt the message sent from each other. The message can be successfully decrypted only when the STA and the AP have the same pre-share key. So the AP and the STA using the same pre-share key. Then the next one is the portal authentication. So, and we also can call it as a web authentication. The user using the web browser, like Internet Explorer, or maybe right now we have a Firefox or the Google Chrome in some country, okay, on the client to enter their username and the password on the authentication page. After that, the web server will complete the user authentication. Okay, so this using this is a system architecture. Okay, they have a portal server, SS server, and also require the AAA server. Okay, this is the portal authentication process. Okay, first process. Now, when we already connect to the SSID, the first thing the PC we're going to do is you're going to send the IP request. Okay, they try to find the DHCP server first to obtain the IP address. So after our PC get the IP address, now the PC we're going to send the HTTP request. Okay, the PC trying to go online. So the AC is going to redirect. Okay, send the HTTP redirect packet because right now you haven't passed through the authentication yet. So I'm going to redirect you to the portal page. So now the user can see the web page like this one from the browser. So now the user have to put the username and the password. Okay, and send. Okay, press a login and send. So this information will send to the radio server right here. Okay, so the radio server, now they're going to send the result. Okay, send the enter username and the password. This is by the user. Okay, actually the exchange the authentication information with the radio server. Okay, exchanging the radio server. And the last one, deliver the authentication result. So mean after they're going to check the username and the password, so the radio server we're going to inform to the user the result is success or fail. WLAN encryption technologies. So after STA pass the authentication and is authorized to access the WLAN, the WLAN must use a mechanism to protect the user data. So just now is the authentication. Now it's for the data encryption. So the user data information also need to be protected. So the most commonly used mechanism is encryption. So this algorithm ensures that only device with the correct key can decrypt the packet. Okay, why for this one, the WLAN encryption method include the WEP encryption, TKIP encryption, and also the CCMP. So this one will be the process for the WEP encryption. It's very simple. So the WEP using the IV. The IV with the key. Like example, this is the key that we enter, like Huawei 123. This is our password. Okay, and this one is the IV. So the IV have 24 bit. Okay, we're going to random generate the IV code. So this IV code will be combined with our password using the formula RC form. Okay, the RC form combine this IV and key become one key stream. Okay, but haven't finished yet. This one is a key stream, and right now we have some information inside the frame, the packet. So this is our information. So this information we're going to press together with our key stream, going to mix together, become one ciphertext, and all the ciphertext can be viewed from here. They become the encrypted data. So that's why when some of the user trying to scan our information, they see the information here is already become some hex key. Okay, they will never know what's the information here. But this kind of the encryption is too simple because I just need to guess of this IV4, the 24-bit is what, then I will know what is your password. So that's why right now actually seldom people are using the WEP encryption anymore. Okay, and they also have some software can easy to crack the web encryptions. So this is the weakness of WEP encryption. The entire network share one single share key. Once the share key is lost, the security of the entire network is threatened. So this is the main problem here. If you're using the WEP, the share key, so the entire network is using the same password. When this password is lost or be successfully decrypted by some other third-party user, so he can actually using this password to access to anywhere he wants. So this is the risk right here. the length of IV is so short, so the WEP encryption can be easily decrypted if the interception is performed on a large amount of a packet. Okay, this is the main problem here. It's very short. It's only like 24 bit. And the formula for the RC4 is too simple. Okay, for all, more information, you can try to check the RC4. Okay, I believe on the Wikipedia, you can able to find the formula of this one, the RC4. Why is the RC4? Okay, then the solution. Configure another key management mechanism. That means they try to suggest you using another encryption other than the WEP. Okay, use a strong encryption algorithm. Then the next one, TKIP encryption. Okay, it stands for the temporary key integrity protocol. So still, the TKIP is using the RC4. Okay, they're using the RC4 formula to encrypt the data. So in that way, the existing hardware can be rapidly used without increasing the encryption cost, because they're using a same formula to encrypt the information. So they won't increase the cost for the encryptions. Feature of TKIP encryption: the IV length is increased. The previous one on the WEP encryption, they're only using 24 bit. For the TKIP, they increase the length from 24 become 48. So now even the hacker, they want to decrypt your IV, they need to take even longest time compared to the previous one. Okay, a mechanism for key generation, management, and the transmission is provided. So each user using the unique key. This is the main difference compared to the web encryption. Because the web encryption, every user is using the same key. The key used in the data encryption is transmitted in a secure way. The marker is added. This marker is the name. Okay, it's one of the protocol. Okay, it's not the persons. Okay, marker is adopted to calculate the message integrity curve. Okay, this is happening to the TKIP. The key generation, first, they're doing the four-way handshake. This is the process of the four-way handshake, how they do. So first, they're going to send the anons. Okay, this is from our AP. The AP will send the anons to our SDA. Then the SDA, you're going to generate the PTK. Okay, so this PTK key, right, is just for doing the some of the random code. So they generate the PTK and send to the AP. So they send the SNOS and the MAC to the AP. So AP receive already, they also will going to generate the PTK. And then negotiate with the SDA. So when both sides receive the PTK, they're going to combine these two PTK, because I have my own PTK, and the AP also inform me what is the PTK the AP using. So I use my PTK mixed with the AP PTK. Both mixed together and come out another mixed version PTK, then now they can both install. So now they become the very unique key in the both device here. Okay, now I already have the PTK. Okay, this is the cryptographic mixing, how to mix it, become the key. So now I already have the PTK. Example, this on my PC. So I'm going to use my address and also the packet sequence, the sequence number, all mixed together and generate another new key. So this key will be used to encrypt the data. So this is the key generation. Okay, the message integrity check. So it will go to check based on the MAC key. Okay, the MAC key, the destination MAC address, and also the source MAC address, these two, and the data. CCMP encryption, the countermeasure with cipher blocking chaining MAC protocol. short we call as a CCMP. So it's a protocol based on Advanced Encryption Standard, AES. So the AES is stronger than the RC4 algorithm. So this is the reason why a lot of people prefer using the AES. Okay, so because the AES is stronger than the RC4 algorithm. The CCMP encryption has the same key distribution and management mechanism with the TKIP. So it looks like the TKIP and the CCMP have the same level encryption. Okay, you use the same key distribution. The key used in the CCMP are 128 bit in length. It's longest. The AES requires the hardware upgrade. Then this table showing the difference between the WEP, TKIP, and the CCMP. So only the WEP and TKIP using the encryption algorithm RC4. The CCMP is no longer using RC4 anymore. And it's strongest recommended using the CCMP here for the encryption, okay, for our data. So it's more secure when you compare to the TKIP and WEP. The key length. The WEP is only support up to 104, but TKIP, CCMP, 128. The IV, the web only have 24 bit. TKIP and the CCMP is support up to 48. So the data share algorithm, CCMP and also the web is using the CRC. Oh, sorry, this is using a CRC and this is using a CPC. Okay, it's different type of the checking algorithm, and this one is using the micro. Only the TKIP and the CCMP will using the four-way handshake to get the PDK. Okay, and the last one, WLAN security policy and security profile configuration. So this is the configuration. So the first one, the authentication mode is non-authentication. So when the authentication is no authentication, of course, at the same time, they're also not doing any encryption. So the accounting mode combine non-authentication and non-encryption with the porter authentication at the service layer, and is widely used in the carrier WLAN scenario. Configuration method. By default, the security profile used for the Huawei device are configured as non-authentication and non-encryption. So this one we have to take note by default. Okay, all the security profile by default is no authentication. So remember to change it. WEP. So they support the share key authentication. The encryption is using the RC4. So WEP is usually used in the home and the personal WLAN. It has a low requirement on security, and maintenance engineers are required for its key maintenance. And this is a web page configuration. So you just go to the security profile. Okay, select. Open means have no authentication. Right now we want to do the web. So you select the web. Are you going to configure the the pre-share key? If yes, then you have to select this. Okay, if you want to run the CAFE portal, the portal authentication, you have to turn off this. Right. So right now this is using the share key. So I turn it on, and you can select the encryption mode. How long for the encryption? Okay, they're using the 40 for this testing. The password type using the hex. Okay, the password number. Okay, using the default, and the password. You can put your password right here and double click for your password. So there's a two different here. Okay, what's the difference here is one is using the hex and the other using the passphrase. And right here is on the CRI. So the CRI here, you have to enter to the WLAN view, create the security profile. So this security profile, after you're entering already, remember to change your security mode. So put the command security, I'm going to choose WEP and I use share key. So right now, WEP, the key ID is number 0, my default key, and the web I'm using 40. I put the hex, and this is my password. Okay, if you use the hex, then the password can be in this line. If you're using the passphrase, okay, you can using the shortest password key. Okay, then the next one is for the longest decryption, the WEP-104. So when you're using the WEP-104 with the hex, you have to insert even longer the password line. Okay, this is your password. Has to be that long. Then the other is for the passphrase. Okay, no need to put too long. It's around like 14 digit or the alphabet you do. WPA stands for the Wi-Fi Protection Access. So the authentication can support pre-share key or the 802.1x plus EAP. Encryption mode for the WPA using TKIP. The usage scenario. WPA personal apply to the personal, home, and the small size Soho network. So this version has a low requirement on the network security and does not need an authentication server. Okay, this one doesn't require that. WPA Enterprise apply to the network that has a high requirement on security. For example, Enterprise network. So in this version, an authentication server is needed. Okay, this is for the enterprise use. For the personal, then we're using the PSK. And this is the configuration. Select WPA, select PSK. What kind of the encryption that you want to do? Okay, TKIP, passphrase, enter the password. So the selection here is very simple. Okay, and this is for the CRI. So you just enter back to the security profile, put WPA, pre-share key, passphrase with your password, and what kind of encryption that you want to use, TKIP. Or you can just put in another encryption, is this one, the AS. Okay, below here is for the 1x. WPA2 is very similar to the WPA. So they support the PSK 802.1x. For the encryption mode, you can using the TKIP and CCMP. So they have these two levels. Of course, if you're using the WPA2, it's recommended using a CCMP, okay, because the encryption algorithm is much more better. It's not using the RC4. If you're using the TKIP, it's still using the RC4. So the WPA2 web. So select WPA. Right now I want to do the PSK. Okay, select your encryption mode and your password. And you also can choose the 1x. Okay, they have many different types of configuration. So this is for the AAA server. If you configure the 802.1x, you require to have the AAA server. So you need to configure the name, giving the key, okay, double confirm your key and your username. Then the profile. Okay, right now, okay, this one will be pretend as the authentication server or the accounting server, because we can simplify divided the server into two different. Okay, and what is the IP address? Okay, remember the port number. So normally we will assign the 1812 for the authentication server, and 1813 is for the accounting server. Okay, this is continue for the authentication. So you just need to go to the authentication profile, select 802.1x profile. From here, you can do some modification, okay, to select what is your 802.1x profile, what kind of the authentication mode that you want to choose. Okay, the maximum authentication request, the timeout, interval, and the packet code number. Then the next one, for the radius server, you can go below here. So after we configure the 802.1x profile on the controller, the next one, you can go down here, the radius server. Because in my network, we might have another authentication server. Okay, I don't want to do the authentication on my controller. I want to do on another device. So you need to touch on this place, the radius server profile. Click on this. Okay, select your profile. So what's the profile you're going to use, and then apply. Okay, and the last one here, the authentication. So what kind of authentication in this account? So now I create the AAA account, the Huawei, and then the first authentication, I will always do the radius. Okay, you also can configure the third authentication, no configuration. Okay, this is continue. Then go below here, the binding profile. Okay, select the authentication profile. It's Huawei. So then the next one is for the PSK, WPA-2 PSK. So it's very simple. Go back to your Wlan view, enter the security profile with the name, and then put security WPA2 PSK, the passphrase with your password. Now you can select your encryption mode. So I suggest using the CCMP. Then another one is a command line configure the radius server. So first, we have to configure the template for the radius server. Okay, right now my controller is not the authentication server. I just want to one of the authenticator only. So you need to put radius server share key using the Huawei. Okay, this is my the password and my server IP address. Okay, my real authentication server is located in this IP address and the port number. This one is the default port number. And the next one, we go out to the system view and entering the AAA. So on the AAA there, you create one scheme, authentication scheme, and name it to the Huawei. Okay, this is a user-defined authentication. So inside here, I'm going to change this mode become a radius. And the domain. Okay, I create one more domain. Okay, this is a default one. Alright, I want to do some modification for this. So all the domain here, I want to use the authentication Huawei. So that's means just now what I configure here. This is the Huawei. This Huawei authentication scheme, we're going to perform the radius authentication. So right now, the domain. So this is the domain. I'm going to select the authentication scheme is Huawei. Okay, this one. Okay, I select the Huawei. So that means every user here have to perform the radius authentication. Okay, and the radius server. My radius server is Huawei. And where is this? The radius server template. Okay, so since we want to do the radius authentication, so we need to know where is our server IP address and the port number. Okay, then continue. On the service view, the system view, put the command, the .1x access profile. Give the name, and then the authentication profile. Again, the name. Okay, inside there, put .1x access profile Huawei. So this is the reason why we need to configure this one. The 1x access profile, I name it as a Huawei. So this one we're going to bind into this authentication. And the scheme for this one is Radius. The Radius server using Huawei. Okay, now almost done already. We go back to the WLAN view, entering to the security profile, and put the command security WPA.1x AES. Okay, so this is how we actually apply the A02.1x. Now go to the WAP profile. Okay, the SSID. Okay, because we configure the SSID on the WAP profile. So on there, select security profile Huawei. Authentication profile also Huawei. So for those users who want to connect to this SSID, they will perform the Radius authentication. They're all using A02.1x. So in the latest WPA implementation, both WPA and the WPA2 can use these two, okay, A02.1x or the pre-share key, and TKIP-CCMP. Therefore, WPA support the following combination of this authentication and encryption. So this is their combination. Okay, the first one on the top here is WPA. WPA can combine with the, okay, this one is pre-share key with the TKIP encryption. This one is the authentication, and this one is encryption. Okay, authentication, encryption. So this is an example for the configuration, and I did show you already on the previous slide. So you have to enter into the WLAN profile, and then enter to the security profile, and then choose what kind of the security authentication mode that you want to use. Okay, and then what kind of the encryption. Okay, the authentication followed by encryption. Then the last one is the WAPI, the WLAN authentication and privacy infrastructure. Okay, this is the Chinese national standard developed based on the IEEE 802.11. Okay, this is the internet type value, okay, for the WAPI 88B4 in an internet frame. So the background is an access control method based on the triple element architecture and the peer authentication. So it can be widely used in a wired and wireless network. Its purpose is to ensure that authorized users connect to the legal network. So this is a traditional web authentication. The dual element security architecture contains two physical entities. So unidirectional authentication is used. Security is non-guaranteed because both is using the static key, and the key will be the fixed for everyone. Then the next one is for the A02.1x EAP. So this one is doing the dual element security. So the architecture contains the three physical entities. So like the spoken, and then authenticator, and the authentication server. The AP is not assigned with a unique certificate and is vulnerable to attack. So that means this one is still very dangerous for the A02.1x, because for the A02.1x, the authentication is based on the server and the client side. Okay, the AP here basically they don't do anything. It's just like the hub. So that's why they have the WAPI here. They're using a triple element security architecture, contain the three physical entities. So the AP or base station is assigned with the unique digital certificate. So that means right now it's not only the PC, the SDA have the certificate. The AP also require the certificate. Okay, both. The bidirectional authentication guarantees the security. So they have the following security scheme. The first one, why? Okay, the WLAN authentication infrastructure. They used to authenticate the user ID and the manage the key. WPI, privacy infrastructure. Protect the data transmitted on WLAN and provide the encryption, data verification, and anti-replay function. So the WAPI is different from the WEP, WPA, and WPA2. So the WAPI allows the WLAN client and the WLAN server to authenticate each other. They can authenticate on both sides. It's not only on one side authentication. The WAPI cert, the mode is use a public key to authenticate the certificate of the WLAN server and the client. Although the WAPI use an asymmetric encryption algorithm in the authentication, so it's used the symmetric encryption algorithm in the data transmission. Okay, they have two different types of the encryption algorithm. So this improves the encryption and the decryption efficiency and facilitate the software and the hardware implementation. So this is a summary, okay, for all the different type of authentication. So we can compare with all of those. Okay, the open authentication means it's no authentication at all. Okay, the encryption, you can choose plain text or WEP. So what they can support? The Porter and PPPoE. Okay, for the share key, they support WEP or the plain text. WPA, pre-share key, or you can using the WPA 802.1x. So both of them also can support TKIP and CCMP. If you're going to using a pre-share key, you can support Porter and PPPoE. For the 802.1x, of course it's only 802.1x. Okay, so the PA2 will be very similar. For the WAPI, you can use for the pre-share key and also the this is the pre-share key and another is non-pre-share key. So the encryption is totally different than the RC4, okay, and also the CCMP here. Okay, they have their own encryption algorithm. The WLAN authentication technology, encryption technology, and the last one is a security policy and the configuration.